Hello, this is Mr. Jones, and I'm going to talk to you today about solving percent problems by setting up and solving an equation. And to do that, the equation would look something like this. The percent times the whole is equal to the part. So this is a little bit different than the proportions. Now, one thing to remember when setting up an equation, the percent is always a decimal. So you have to remember to take the percent and write it in decimal form. And then if you were solving for a percent, you'd have to remember to take that decimal answer and change it into a percent. Let's take an example here. Let's say, what is 85% of 62? So I'm going to set this up using the equation from above. Percent times whole is equal to part. Now again, remember, I can also use the key words here. I am looking for the part. What is? So that is what I'm looking for. I've got the percent and I've got the of whole. So I could also set up my equation to look like this. Percent times of is equal to is. And that's using the key words there. So let's set this equation up. Percent. So I have 85% and I need to write it as a decimal. So 0.85 times the whole, so of 62, so times 62, is equal to my part. I'm going to use the variable n. So when I multiply 0.85 with 62, I get 52.7 is equal to n. So 85% of 62 is 52.7. Let's do another one. Let's try to find 19.2 is 32% of what? And so let's take a look at this. Remember, the equation here is percent times whole is equal to the part. So I'm going to look for the keywords here. Is 19.2 is 32%. So I've got the part and I've got the percent. So let's first write the percent as a decimal. So 0.32 times, and I'm looking for of what? So I'm looking for the whole. So I'm going to use x as my variable there, is equal to the part, which is 19.2. So this would be 0.32x is equal to 19.2. Since I multiply with the coefficient, I'm going to divide by 0.32. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And this will leave me with x is equal to 60. Let's solve another one. What is, or what percent of 48 is 54? So here I'm looking for the percent. Here's my whole. And here's my part. So I'm going to set this up. The percent, I'm going to just go ahead and call that x. So x times the whole is 48 is equal to the part, which is 54. So 48x is equal to 54. Divide both sides by 48, and I get x is equal to 1.125. Now remember, when working with an equation, your percent is in decimal form. So if I'm solving for a percent, then my answer comes out in decimal form, and I will have to change that decimal into a percent. So 1.125, and I move it over 2 places, 1, 2. That's going to come out to 112.5%. Now remember, percent over 100 can happen, and that means that the part will be greater than the whole. That's one thing to always keep in mind, is that your part can be greater than your whole, and that's when it's more than 100%. Now let's work a word problem. Here I have a real estate agent. She makes a 4.5% commission on property she sells. To the nearest dollar, how much commission does she make on the sale of a house for $132,500? A commission is the amount you make on how much you sell. In this case, it's 4.5%. So 4.5% of $132,500 is what she would make as a commission. In some cases, if I'm dealing with a musician or an artist, instead of a commission, they make what is called a royalty. It works the same way. So how much does she make for selling this house? How much commission does she have in this house? So I'm going to set it up, again, using the equation, percent times whole is equal to part. Just so happens, in this case, the part is her commission. So the percent is 4.5%, so I'm going to change that to decimal form, which would be 0.045 times the amount of the house, which is $132,500, is going to equal her commission. I'm going to just set the variable C for her commission. And when I multiply that out, I get 5,962.50 is equal to her commission. So when she sold a house for $132,500, she made a commission of $5,962.50. I can use the equation format when working with graphs as well. Here, the graph shows the results of a survey. There were 1,023 students who answered yes. How many people were surveyed? Well, 93% of those surveyed answered yes. And I know that 1,023 students answered yes on the survey. So, on this survey, I'm going to say that the percent times the whole is equal to the part. It's the whole that I'm looking for here. The part is the 1,023 students. Of that, I know that 93% is how many answered yes, which is the 1,023. So 93% of what is 1,023? So I'm going to change my percent to a decimal, so 0.93 times the whole, I'm going to just make x the whole, is equal to 1,023. So 0.93x is equal to 1,023. Divide both sides by 0.93, and I can see that x is equal to 1,100. So 1,100 students were surveyed. Just like proportions, here's another chart to help you remember the different ways to set up your equation. And you can always use the keywords is and of to help you set up the equation. Of course, of refers to the whole, and is refers to the part. And the main thing to remember when working with equations is the percent has to be written as a decimal. Hope this helps.